The little boy's plastic spoon hit the restaurant floor. Everyone at the table turned. But 3-year-old Noah wasn't looking at the spoon. He was staring across the restaurant at a man carrying a tray of coffee. Then Noah suddenly pointed at him and said, clear as day, "Daddy." His mother went completely still. The waiter stopped walking, and the man holding the coffee looked like someone had just knocked the air out of him, because he had never seen the child before, and he certainly wasn't his father. 3 hours earlier, Claire Bennett had almost canceled the date. She stood in her apartment bathroom, staring at herself while Noah played with toy cars outside the door. She had been a single mother for 3 years. 3 years of daycare drop-offs before work, rushed dinners, unpaid bills, laundry at midnight, and pretending she wasn't exhausted when Noah asked why other kids had dads who came to school events. The dating app had been a joke. Her friend Megan had made the profile for her. One photograph, one terrible attempt at a biography, and one match. His name was Daniel, 34, former firefighter, now worked as a restaurant manager while studying to become a physical therapist. His profile said, "I'm good at fixing things. People are harder." Claire had laughed when she read it. She agreed to dinner mostly because she needed one evening where nobody asked her for snacks. She told Megan, one dinner, no expectations. She didn't know that Daniel had made the same promise to himself. When Claire arrived at the restaurant with Noah, she expected awkwardness. Instead, Daniel smiled at the toddler before he even greeted Claire. "Hi, buddy." Noah hid behind his mother's coat. Daniel didn't force a reaction. He simply crouched several feet away and placed a small packet of crackers on the table. "For later," he said. Claire noticed something immediately. He didn't try too hard. He didn't perform kindness. He just gave Noah space. That mattered. During dinner, Daniel admitted he wasn't looking for a perfect relationship. His previous engagement had ended 2 years earlier. His fiancée had left after his younger brother died unexpectedly. Daniel had spent months blaming himself because he had missed his brother's final phone call while working a fire. Claire understood the silence that followed. She knew what it was like to carry guilt that didn't belong entirely to you. Their conversation became easier. For the first time in months, Claire laughed without checking the time. Then Noah began coughing. Hard. His face reddened. Claire immediately stood. Daniel was already moving. He recognized what was happening before Claire did. Noah had swallowed a piece of food badly. Daniel calmly helped Claire position him correctly and called for medical assistance. Within moments, Noah was breathing normally again. Claire held him against her chest, shaking. Daniel stepped backward. He didn't touch her. He simply said, "He's okay." That was the first moment Claire looked at him differently. But the night had another surprise. As they left the restaurant, Daniel noticed Noah's stuffed rabbit lying beneath the table. He picked it up. Noah reached for it. Daniel handed it over. The toddler stared at him for several seconds. Then he touched Daniel's sleeve. "Daddy." Claire froze. Daniel smiled awkwardly. "No, buddy." Noah frowned. Claire apologized. "He's been asking about his dad lately." Daniel nodded. But something about his expression changed. He looked at Noah again. Not romantically. Not suspiciously. Almost painfully. Then he asked quietly, "Does he know his father?" Claire shook her head. "No." Daniel didn't ask another question. The next morning, Claire received a message. It wasn't from Daniel. It was from Noah's preschool. They had found an old emergency contact form in Noah's file. There was a name Claire hadn't seen in years. Evan Bennett, Noah's biological father. Claire's stomach tightened. Evan had disappeared before Noah was born. Not because Claire had asked him to leave. Because he had been struggling with addiction and had chosen treatment over fatherhood, promising he would return when he was stable. He never did. Claire had eventually stopped waiting. But now the preschool needed updated records. And suddenly the past was standing in front of her again. That evening, Daniel called. Claire almost didn't answer. When she did, his voice sounded different. "I need to tell you something." She sat down. Daniel explained that after their date, he had looked at the name on her reservation. Claire Bennett. The name had triggered a memory. Years earlier, when he was still a firefighter, Daniel had responded to a highway accident. A young man had been injured. Before being taken away, the man had repeatedly asked firefighters to contact someone named Claire. Daniel had been the one who stayed beside him. The man's name was Evan Bennett. Claire couldn't breathe. Daniel continued. He was asking about a baby. He kept saying he had to get clean before he could meet his son. Claire closed her eyes. Evan had never told her. Daniel had never known what happened afterward. Until now. The terrible truth was that Evan hadn't simply abandoned them. He had entered treatment. He had stayed sober for almost 2 years. Then he died from complications related to the injuries from that accident. He had never gotten the chance to come home. Claire cried quietly, not because she suddenly wanted Evan back, but because Noah would never know that his father had tried. Weeks passed. Claire and Daniel didn't immediately start dating. Instead, Daniel became someone Noah trusted. He fixed the loose wheel on Noah's toy truck. He attended a preschool art show. He sat on the floor during a meltdown and waited patiently until Noah was ready to talk. He never called himself Noah's father. He never tried to replace Evan. That was exactly why Claire slowly began falling for him. One afternoon, Noah handed Daniel a crayon drawing. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands. Claire looked at it. "Who's this?" Noah pointed. "Mommy." Then himself. "Me." Then Daniel. He smiled. "Danny." Claire looked at Daniel. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Not because Noah had called him daddy. Because Noah had given him something much more important. A place. Months later, Claire and Daniel returned to the same restaurant. Noah sat between them, eating pancakes. Daniel reached for his coffee. Noah suddenly looked up. "Daddy." This time, nobody froze. Daniel looked at Claire first. She nodded through a smile. He turned toward Noah. "Yeah, buddy." Noah reached across the table and took his hand. Claire watched them quietly. She finally understood something. Family wasn't always the person who arrived first. Sometimes it was the person who stayed. The person who respected the empty spaces. The person who loved without demanding to be called anything. Daniel hadn't come into their lives to erase Noah's father. He had come into their lives and helped them understand that love didn't have to replace the past. It could honor it and still build something new. And sometimes, the most unexpected word from a child's mouth isn't a mistake. Sometimes it's a glimpse of the family your heart was still learning how to recognize. Because being a father isn't always about sharing a child's blood. Sometimes, it's about being the person who keeps showing up,